I was born in northern Sweden in a little town called Luleå. I lived in this beautiful town till I was 7. When I was 7, we moved to the United States of America, to the Bay Area. My mom married a man from the Bay Area, and we lived in the Bay Area for a few years. After the Bay Area, when I was around 11 or something, we moved to Maui. Maui. We were in Maui, and then they said, we're gonna go visit Sweden. Back to our hometown. Yet, it ended up not being a visit. Ended up staying there, living there. I actually ended up working a lot. I also went to school, but then I dropped out of school. I started cheerleading, the hockey team. I dropped out of school because I was drinking too much, drinking absolute vodka, feeling a lot of anxiety being in school, being around people, because I was feeling heartbroken. I was feeling heartbroken because my papa, who I knew as a very present man in my life, was now struggling with crystal meth addiction and his own journey through life. So I started using alcohol as a way to cope being alive. And I worked my butt off at a cafe and a restaurant too. And I ended up actually buying an apartment. I bought an apartment. It was a really nice apartment. And, but it felt like a place where I just went to smoke weed, be high, make really good food, watch The Sopranos, all the seasons of Sopranos again and again. I love The Sopranos. Actually, that's how I started loving having long nails, because of the women in The Sopranos, they all had long nails. And I really felt, empathy for Tony, even though he's a fucking asshole. Kind of strangely turned on by him, Anyways, I lived in my apartment. On paper, it looked like I had a lot of great things. I had a job that paid me well, and I owned an apartment. I had nice furniture, a couch, all the great things that my grandma was certainly very happy for me. I felt like I was in a prison. I felt like I had made a beautiful prison for myself. And on paper, I was supposed to be happy. Meanwhile, I felt shitty as fuck. I drank a lot at that time. Then I went to Brazil. And while I was in Brazil, there was this one day when I was sitting there on the ocean, by the ocean, looking out at the ocean at the horizon, and all of a sudden this thing just hit me. And I got up from that sitting by the water there, and I knew that now it was my time to move back to the United States of America by myself and start a whole new journey. I got up from that session of sitting by the water, by the beach, and just looking out at the horizon, knowing that, wow, I'm moving to the Bay Area again. I'm starting a new life. I went back to Sweden, and it was easy for me. I sold everything quite quickly. I did not care to try to wait for a higher offer. I was simply ready to leave. Before I went to Brazil, I felt stuck. I felt like I was in a deep prison. I didn't know how to get out of it. When I went to Brazil, I was shown how simple and easy it is. And I went back to Sweden, got one of those people who helps you sell these places, hired him, paid him well, got it sold, gave away all the furniture to the person who bought the place, and moved to California by myself. I moved in with my brothers. Well, before I even went to California, I actually went to Stockholm to live with my dad for a while, which was awesome. We continued watching The Sopranos. It was really fun. I loved that time with my dad. At that time, he was sober, which was awesome. We went to the gym a lot and worked together and things like that. And then I did leave to the United States, to California, to the Bay Area. Actually, I ended up first in Malibu, which was awesome, at my step-grandfather's place. His neighbors were actors like Sean Penn, and I actually saw Sean Penn in the morning when I would go on my runs. And I would check out the surfers in the morning. It was a really beautiful place. And my step-grandfather actually also gave me gift cards to Starbucks, so I could enjoy a Frappuccino every single day, which was really fun. I was living a whole new life in America compared to Sweden. And then I came to Bay Area. And my brothers, my stepbrothers, super generous. I have so much gratitude for my brother, especially my oldest brother, Peter, stepbrother, Peter, who really took care of me and who supported me to come to a new place. I lived in a really kind of dangerous place. It was under construction with my other brother. And, I left to California because I thought I could start a new life, right? Because I thought I could just change location and be free from all the torment. Little did I know that the darkness that I tried to escape or avoid by just changing my environment would actually come creeping back. And it did so full force. And I actually went so far gone down into the darkness with alcohol and shit that I actually ended up having a near-death experience. An experience where I literally collapsed onto the floor and stopped breathing and started feeling how the energy, the lightness of the energy that is me, started exiting this physical body. I started feeling such heaviness and denseness from the physical body, and the lightness and the warmth and the blissfulness of the energy that was exiting the body. It was very blissful and beautiful. From the outside, most people would say, wow, this must be the most tragic moment of this girl's life. But what I was actually experiencing is that which completely transformed my life. Ever since that day, I did not drink again. Meanwhile, before that day, I had told myself, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be drinking, I'm destroying my life. I was even going so far as, really not wanting to be around anyone that I loved and cared about, because I felt like I was in such darkness. I wasn't wanting to talk to my mom. I didn't want to see any of the people, my brothers or no one. I actually wanted to completely isolate myself because I was really in darkness and I did not want anyone to see or be or feel this energy. So after this experience of feeling this warm glowing light all around me, I actually saw it was all around me, and this was as the lightness and the energy was exiting the physical body. It was so heavy and it was going up, like the physical body was here and I was going up, it was such a beautiful feeling. And I saw that this warm glowing light was all around me, truly all around me, and it was actually coming from the core of me. So it wasn't just coming from outside, it wasn't just outside of me, it was actually coming from within and without. It was truly everything, it was all of existence. It was that which is the eternal nature of my being. That's what it was. And I felt like, wow, you could think this is the worst day of this girl's life, but truly it was the biggest blessing of my entire life. And that which, what some would call almost death, or near death, was actually a blessing of true life, a true remembering of life and what reality actually is, and what is truly what is sustaining us, and what I can now to this day be guided by and blessed by, if I so choose to really truly open up to let myself be this fully loved and blessed. And so can you, because it's your nature and source too. So I actually had a moment where I saw myself from up above. I saw the physical form laying there, still on the ground. And there was a moment where I felt, wow, there's a choice now. I can choose now to come back. And I felt, it almost felt urgency, like you need to choose now, because otherwise we're done. It's done. And I felt this knowing that, wow, she gets to come back with this remembrance. That's the only reason I would ever want to come back here to this earth and this plane, with this knowing and this remembrance deeply within my core, within my being. My true being and my true nature is this, and to remember this and to share this and to spread the message of this is why I came back. So with an excited yes, I felt the energy all rush back into my body, and I started the rebirth breath. The rebirth breath. I was back. The energy had landed back into this physical body. So the body was going really, really a long time. Finally, it got settled. And how I knew everything was different is that the first thing I did as I got up from the hardwood floor was I went to my phone and I actually called my mom. That's when I knew something was freaking different. Because before that, I would not call my mom. That's the last person I would call when I'm in such darkness and hell. My mother. Like, keep everything that's good away, because I don't want to hurt it. Meanwhile, that's the first person I called. And I got even more shocked when I heard myself say, "Mom, I was wondering if you could take me to an AA meeting." What she told me was that sure, but they're probably already done. I don't think that's open now, but she said, but I'll come get you. And I said, yes, please come get me. Because another thing I didn't tell you guys is I was living in a house where there was a lot of drug dealers and a lot of drinking and partying. My neighbor did cocaine all the time. It was a really intense place to live. Fun and intense and fun, but, you know, kind of destructive for a person like me at that time. So my mom came and picked me up, and she didn't even really question. I think she just could feel that there was something, that she was just supposed to show up. I'm just so grateful for family and people that love us, you know. They just show up. They don't ask questions, they're just there. That means so much to me. Yeah, and ever since that day, I was intuitively guided to eat raw foods. And then I discovered that there's a bunch of wacky people who eat raw vegan foods and who, like, have cured themselves from cancer and all kinds of things. And I saw that there was a whole community of people doing it. And I found this guy online named Dan McDonald, the Life Regenerator baby, Dan the man. And after, like, few months of not smiling or laughing at all and being pretty severely depressed, but also having so much faith and trust in anything I was feeling, because now I had seen the light. I now knew who I was, and that I am the light in this darkness. So it doesn't matter how painful of emotions I had. It doesn't matter the rage I felt, the anger I felt towards myself for putting myself and doing all these things, because I knew I did it all to myself. But I still had anger and emotions about it, but I had no issues with it anymore because I knew I was the light in this darkness and I could get through. Obviously, after many years, since age 13 to 24, having drank so heavily and also done other substances and, you know, had a few times where I pretty severely hit my head and hurt myself, I had some recovering to do. I had some tending to this physical form, giving it love, giving it care. And raw vegan foods was one of the ways I felt called to do that. Eating food that is high water content, has enzymes and minerals, vitamins, and that's just filled with more life than, let's say, like processed foods. So I started fasting a little bit more, and also juicing, and also prayer. These types of things really, really helped me a lot. And I told myself that I'm totally okay with not having any sexual relations ever again in my life. The reason why was because I forgot to share this part of my story, is that while I was in this period where I was drinking heavily and just daily drinking and really deeply depressed and self-harming, I was actually self-harming too, cutting myself because I was in such emotional pain, and it just gave me some relief. But I experienced a lot of sexual things that were not so beautiful and honorable, if you say it like that, pretty animalistic sex, meaning very like using the other person as an object for our pleasure. And that's not necessarily negative if it's done consciously, but this was deeply unconscious and we were not sober. So I lost my virginity while I was bleeding. I was on my period and I had been drinking and I was deeply in pain, and I lost it to a man who also was deeply in pain, who looked like such a bad boy, you know what I mean? Anyways, I have healed and I don't feel any charge sharing about any of this now, but it was quite forceful and I was not really a yes, but it did happen that way. Though, in my near-death experience, I felt so blessed because I saw the innocence in all of it, and I just want everyone to know that I have no charge or animosity or anger towards this brother, because I only ever see all of the innocence in it. And I don't say that to make it seem like light or anything, anybody else's experience of that, but I'm saying I have no charge around it at all. And in fact, if I see this brother, all I want to do is hug him, So I was okay with not having any sexual relations because I only associated sex to darkness and disconnection. and I didn't want it. As I started eating the raw vegan foods, the fresh alive foods, as I actually started loving myself, taking care of myself, really doing that which felt like a yes to my heart, I started feeling so alive. I felt alive. I felt electric. I felt freaking alive. And blessed as I was, an angel was sent to me. He was over 40, and I was like in my 25-ish, and he was like 40 something, which was a great setup because he was a mature, stable, grounded man. And he actually ended up being a powerful angel in my life for a true experience where I actually got to, I don't know how this happened. It felt like it was divinely orchestrated, but in meeting him, I started feeling this sexual desire and energy again in me, and it scared the shit out of me. I was like, holy crap, I don't know what to do here. The only way to move forward with this man in an authentic way is to actually name what's coming up for me. I was noticing a block. I was noticing like, it's touching up against something. And it was some of this pain and ickiness and heartbreak and despair I felt in relations to these energies and to moving in this realm. And it was almost like I needed to name it and share that this was here in order to even go anywhere with him. And I don't know how I had that courage or willingness to do so, but it felt like it was guided by grace or love or something. And I just told him, I said, this is what's coming up. And he was there and he heard me. And I actually shared with him everything that I had lived through, those years of drinking, all the things that had happened to me and the pain. And actually, as I was sharing it, I started to curl up into a ball and shake and like have these like spasms, and like it was like some energy was actually moving through my body. I felt like I was something big and quite uncomfortable was coming up and moving through this body, and it was really shaking, and he was just there like a solid freaking angel. And he was the first person that I ever made love with after my near death. And I was able to tell him exactly what I needed from him. That I needed for him to listen, to be really present. And that's what he already was. And I was able to say stop, pause. And what this did for me is it opened up a whole new world for me of seeing how this energy is actually safe and nourishing when we're coming from the right place. And it truly was a deeply medicinal experience for me. I felt filled with so much gratitude because I now saw that sexual energy is actually super nourishing energy, and it's not just to be used and shared with others, it's actually to be circulated within my own being, within my own self, to nourish myself deeply, to align my being more deeply with that golden radiant light that I saw and felt in my near death. I saw how this energy can be used for deeper intimacy and actually deeper remembrance of this kingdom of heaven that I'm in right now, that we are all actually in right now, if we so choose to open our eyes, or our one eye, and our heart and our whole being. This has been a little bit of a story time, a little bit of this journey of this character Amanda that I'm playing. I share it because in some ways it feels a little bit nourishing for me. And I also share it because, to be honest, in this 28-day thing that I'm a part of, they did encourage us to share our story many days ago. And I just didn't want to do it because I had resistance to sharing any of my story. I'm like, I'm deleting my story. I don't have no story. I'm nothing. There's nothing here. Yet then I was like, here I am sharing my story. And it kind of actually, for some reason, it feels precious and beautiful. And perhaps something about your story can be really beautiful and precious for you too to share and for others to hear. In fact, perhaps it's in the stories, the intimate stories of our lives that we really get to be intimate with each other and feel that which is beyond our stories, that which is beyond the personality. And perhaps that's where we can really be in this moment of love and intimacy, really seeing into each other and feeling how it's all the one. And perhaps this is what the tantric books speak of. Perhaps this is that which is the most nourishing: unity consciousness and remembrance. Perhaps our stories can be a way that we remember deeper that which is beyond all stories, that which just is eternal and forever.